What's up, everybody? It's your boy, BreadPuddingOfficial, and today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. So, as many people don't know, many people do know, I'm not participating in the BHDL this season. I want to take a little bit of break from this draft league. I'm trying not to do as many, but yeah, I still want to contribute to the server because it's a very nice place. It's a very, very nice community. So I decided to do some analyst content. So, the first video I'm gonna be doing is how to draft. So basically what I'm gonna be doing is I'll go to the next slide real quickly. I'm gonna explain some things in this like presentation almost. So you see 5 bullet points. This is what I'm gonna be covering. First, I'm gonna be covering the rules of BHDL if people don't know. Then I'm actually gonna be going for like overview, just like some general terminology that might help you throughout this drafting process. And by the way, this doesn't just go to everybody in BHDL. This goes to like the draft community as a whole because I think this could be very helpful. But yeah, then we're gonna do some helpful tips, which I have some very helpful tips that I personally like that might translate to other people, and I might expand to it as time goes on. Then we have sample teams. There's some sample teams I kind of grabbed that kind of represent good archetypes in draft, which we'll get to in a second. And then lastly, we're going to do a mock draft. This is going to be very interesting because I'm going to be the only person doing the draft, but I'm going to make 5 different teams, I'm pretty sure. I'm going to try to do it as fast as possible, but I'm going to make 5 different teams, like explaining like 5 different archetypes, just some example teams. And then what I'll probably do is there's some servers that I use, or some like links. I'll link some links below of like there's some like past drafts that like you can look for teams and you can see what they are. There's also something called a Ballhawk draft doc, which is a very nice draft resource for people to use. So probably link that as well. There's some good general resources that I'm probably gonna link below. So yeah, feel free to check those out. So rules. So first of all, let's go for rule number 1. You have 100 points to draft 911 mons. Only Pokemon costing 10 points or less will be able to be chosen as Terra Captains. What this means is, so you have 911 mons, and then 100 points for every single mon, for every mon combined. So it might be a good thing to kind of budget your points. Some people make a plan. I personally don't like making a plan because I just work better, just kind of like thinking I'm a spot. But yeah, so if you need to, make a plan to appropriately spend those 100 points for 911 mons. And then yeah, of course, Pokemon costing 10 points or less will be able to be chosen as Terra Captains. What that means is they'll be able to use the terrassizing mechanic, which is a very cool mechanic in my opinion. So yeah, that's very cool. These mons are usually not the best mons ever, but they're good enough mons to kind of benefit from the mechanic. Rule number 2. If a Pokemon is picked by somebody else, you cannot pick it. That's pretty explanatory. So let's say somebody picks Dragapult. You can't be like, okay, I'm going to pick Dragapult, because somebody already picked it. So basically, no mon could be picked twice. That's the best way I can really explain it. Okay, rule number 3. Drafting will be standard snake style from coach number 1 to 16, then from 16 back to 1. This is a rule many people kind of get confused on, so let me try to explain it the best way I could understand it. So basically, if you're coach number 1, that means that you give a first overall pick, which pretty much means that you can pick anything you want that's on the draft board. Obviously, there's some things like legendaries that you can't pick, but you could pretty much pick anything from the draft board. But then number 2, can't pick a thing that number 1 did, and etc. Then it goes to number 3. Number 3 can't pick what number 2 and number 1 picked, but it just goes on and on and on to number 16. So number 16 cannot pick anything that number 1 to number 15 got. And then number 16 picks. Then number 16 could pick again because it's a snake. Because it goes one way, then it goes one way but back. That's kind of like the analogy I understand. Because snakes like sliver. And then yeah. So yeah, basically, number 16 gets your first pick, and then they can pick it again. And then it goes back 16 to 1. Then one gets back. They pick another mon. They pick their mon from that round. Then we pick another mon from a next round, and then just keep going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And that makes sense. That's the best way I can really explain it. And then number 4, there's no timer for a first round of drafting. There will be a 6-hour continuous timer for round 2 on. Players who fail to pick a mon during these 6 hours will be skipped and will have their pick once they return. So basically that means just pick on time. You have 6 hours to pick, and it's important to leave picks if you're not going to be there, because of course everybody needs sleep. So don't be the person that like stalls the draft. Of course if you get sniped, that's one thing. And yeah, that's one thing if you get sniped, but like if you could, just leave this pick, because you only get 6 hours to pick. And then once your 6 hours are done and you're skipped, you have to wait until the next time you pick in order to pick 2 mons. The mon from that round and the mon from the round you're currently on. Okay. Number 6, your timer will only stop if commissioners are not able to pick for the absent player in time. So that means, so obviously for this league, commissioners are Scorpion, Stefan, Beardo, and a Predator. So let's say that you give them a pick. You give them a pick, and then you're not gonna. Then they forget about it. They don't have a pick. They have a pick, but they didn't pick. So what that means is your time. Yeah. So basically, what that means is if the commissioner is not able to pick for the absent player in time, then your timer gets stopped and there is no penalty. Number 7, once the draft is over, coaches will get 18 points to declare up to 3 Terra Captains. These are the only Pokemon that will be allowed to terrestrialize in battle. Terra type choices are free and may be to whatever the player desires for each individual battle. Terra types are not known prior to the battle for the opposing side. So this is a lot to dissect, but basically, you get 18 points to draft up to 3 Terra Captains that are 10 points and below. So what that means is you can get a mon that's 10, a mon that's 5, and a mon that's 3. Or you can get a mon that's 10, and you can get a mon that's 8. As long as they add up to either 18 points or under 18 points. So that's basically what it is. And then, Terra type choices are free and may be whatever a player desires to choose for each individual battle. The reason why this is listed here is because there's some leagues that do like 2 Terra types. There's some people that do 3 Terra types and whatnot. But this league, you can choose whatever Terra type you want. And the last part, Terra types are not known prior to the battle before the opposing side. The reason why this is there is because a perfect example of a BBRD league. So in a BBRD league, you have to tell your opponent before the battle starts what your Terra type is. I personally am a decent fan of this. I know other people aren't. I think I'm not sure. I have mixed choices about this. I respect the choices of the mod team. I know that they know what we're doing, and I'm not gonna judge because personally, there's some leagues that do different. That like some people do restricted Terra types. There's some people that do like Terra preview. So yeah, I respect your decision, and I think this is interesting. This is gonna be an interesting draft for sure. So very, very excited. So now we're gonna get into some terminology. So I'm gonna go very fast with this because I think a lot of people know what this is, but I'm gonna go over it anyways. Okay, so top heavy, getting a lot of high power mons, but not enough low power mons. These drafts usually have 9 mons. So what that means is you get stuff like a Dragapult, you get a Palafin, you get all these really good mons, and then you don't focus on any of like your low power mons. What that means is you're like, screw it, we're not gonna get any of the low tiers. We're just gonna get all the top tiers, and we're just gonna get some very, very, very bad mons to round out my draft. That's basically what top heavy means. Balance. Getting a decent amount of everything. These teams usually have a balance of between high, mid, and low tiers. That's pretty self-explanatory. So basically, you're not getting just high tiers. You're getting some high tiers, you're getting some mid tiers, you're getting some low tier. You're getting a mix of everything. Playstyles. The way you decide to play the game. And we'll get into that in a second. So these commonly include like hyper offense, balance, stall. We'll get to these in a second. High tiers, the best mons available. So what this means, high tiers are like your mons like Dragapult, your stuff like Iron Tread, your stuff like Great Tusk. These are mons that are considered high tiers. Mid tiers, the mons aren't amazing, but are still decent. Mid tiers are mons like Serena. Your mons like, I'm trying to think of some mid tiers. Yeah, mons like Serena, mons like Hatterene, mons like, I'm trying to think of some more high tiers, some more mid tiers. Yeah, stuff like Screamtail, just like the mons that aren't extraordinary but are still pretty decent. Low tiers, probably the worst mons on the board. So that means these are your Cacturns, your Sudowoodos, your just basically the mons that are desirable, but they're pretty cheap. So pretty much high tiers are the most expensive, mid tiers are kind of like middle, low tiers are not that expensive. Okay, here's where we get into what I discussed before, playstyles versus hyper offense. Getting a lot of hard-hitting mons, these teams don't usually have many defensive pieces, it might have reflect such light screen support. So, this terminology is very subjective because, you see, there's usually not a full hyper offense team and not a full of these other archetypes, but yeah, usually hyper offense teams, they have a lot of screen support. They're not very that defensive. They focus on like having like that like very good like lead mon and like setting up hazards and pretty much setting up for the other offensive mons. So that's the best way I can explain it. Bulky offense, having some hard hitting mons but also having some good defensive mons. So mons that I'll kind of explain mons that kind of go in hyper offense actually really quickly. Yeah. So mons that go into hyper offense are stuff like your Grimmsnarls, your Ninetales Alola as your screen setters. Other hyper offensive mons are what's a good example of a hyper offensive mon? I'm gonna go on OE right now. A lot of mons could actually fit into hyper offense. Garchomp is mostly bounce mon, but you could fit into hyper offense. Golden could fit into hyper offense, but is mostly balance. So it's kind of hard to make some like very hyper offensive threats, but there's some mons that like are pretty frail or that could set up very, very nicely. So what's enough? There's a lot of mons that can fit in hyper offense, but basically if you can get a good setup mon or like a very good Skarker, there's some like very specific pieces. We'll see that later on. But that's the game's hyper offense. Bulky offense, like your mons like Scissor, your mons like Gliscor, your mons like Great Tusk, your mons like Landorus Fairy, and your mons like King Gambit. Mons that are very bulky, but that also hit hard. Stall is not using many strong attackers, but rather using passive damage such as hazards and moves like Toxic. So what this means is your team really doesn't attack that much. It usually is like very, very passive techniques such as like Toxic, Rocks, mons like that go into Stall, or mons like Dondozo, Quagsire. What else? Yeah, Corviknight, Toxapex. There's some very passive bots that just don't do much damage, but they are very, very defensive. Next, these are two different types of like teams. Like these teams are usually not like full-on teams, but they have a mode. So, weather is Sun, Rain, Sand, Snow. These weathers might boost your mon speed or defensive stats. So, we'll kind of get some other teams later on, but basically use like one of these techniques to help benefit your team. Terrain, a battlefield effect that gives you adverse effects that might give your Pokemon your opponent an advantage. Psychic terrain, misty terrain, grassy terrain, or leshy terrain. So these are like different battlefield effects that kind of benefit your team. And mons like Sneasler really benefit from terrain. And there's different effects for like Psychic, Misty, Electric, Grassy. Psychic, you can't get hit by priority. Misty, you can't get hit by status. Electric, you can't get hit by sleep. And Grassy terrain, you always get like recovery. There's also some other obscure effects. I'm not going to go really deep into them. Hazards. Non-damaging moves that you could use to gain chip damage over time during the duration of a battle. Stealth Rock, Spikes, Top Spikes, Sticky Webs. Hazard Control. Being able to remove hazards from the field. Tidy Up, Defog, Rapid Spin. These are good example of hazard removal. There's probably one I forgot, but you'll get the gist. Pivots. Defensive mons that you could use to swap into certain hits. So these are mons that, like, for example, one of my favorite pivots is Zarude. Because, yeah, I can't really swap into bug type moves, but, like, it swaps into, like, it's a very good defensive mon that can swap in a lot of hits. And that's what I use as a pivot. There's also some other mons, but we'll kind of figure it out as the draft progresses. Defense. Being able to take hits from certain mon/typings. That's pretty self-explanatory. Offense. Being able to launch a ton of moves that deal a ton of damage. Cores. Certain mons or types that pair well with each other, which gives the team a lot of synergy. Examples is Water, Fire, Grass core, Dragon Tail Stew core, and an example of a core is Sulking Galar, or Sulking and Torn Teeth. That is because they have a regenerator, and then they form something called a regenerator core, which is a very, very good defensive core. Momentum. Moves such as U-turn, flip turn, ball switch, teleport, and baton pass that allows you to get your mons safely in. Sniped. Wanting a certain mon but getting it taken. This happens a lot. So, like, let's say you want something like King Gambit, but before you, somebody took King Gambit. That is called being sniped. Grace period. A time where you could trade one mon for another mon, or of a lesser or same value after the draft is ended. So, basically, let's say that you don't like something like, you don't like having Screamtail. You could get, like, a mon that's, like, lesser than Screamtail, or you could get, like, 2 mons that are lesser, depending how many mons you have in your team. But yeah, basically you can use Grace Period to trade your mons for different mons. And then, Momentum. I think there's another one I was gonna put, but I kind of forgot what it was. So, tips! Oh my goodness, I'm getting very, very... I'm losing my voice. Okay. Tip number 1. Use mons you enjoy using. These might be mons of your favorite starters or your favorite evolutions. This will make the experience more enjoyable. I could say I vouch for this a ton, because if you don't like your draft, you're not gonna have fun. So, if possible, try to use mons you enjoy. Don't, like, let's say that you don't enjoy using stall, but you want to win. Don't use stall, because you're not gonna have fun, and throughout the middle of the season, you're just gonna get drained. So, use like mons that you enjoy. Tip number 2. Pick the best mon first and the worst mon last. If you need a certain mon on your team, prioritize that first. So what I'm saying is, let's say that you really want something like a Ferret. Ferret is a really decent mon, but you don't really need to prioritize it first unless you really, really want it. So, I would suggest you could if you want, but if you really want to pick one, you could, but I would not recommend it. But let's say you really want Ferret on your team, prioritize it over other mons. Tip number 3. Find a playstyle you enjoy and roll with that. If you like dealing with big damage, try Hyper Offense. If you want an equal amount of offense/defense, try defensive pieces, try Balance. If you want like a full defensive mode, try Stall. Tip number 4. Don't underestimate or overestimate your points. Eventually, you are going to you are not going to have enough points, or you're gonna have too many. So halfway through the draft, it might be smart to make a plan. I really vouch for this because there's times that I really overestimate points, and then when I got to like the end of the draft, I did not have any points. So I could not vouch for this enough. Tip number 5. Use Grace Period if needed. It's there for a reason. Yeah, if you need to trade your mons, trade your mons. Tip number 6. Ask for help if needed. There are a ton of people who have drafting experiences that will be willing to help you. Yeah, I'm not participating in this draft, so if you ever need help, just reach me out. I would be very, very glad to help. I love making drafts. I would consider myself to be one of the best drafters in the community. And I think my teams mostly always end up in like the top end of power rankings. Which we'll get to those in the future, and you don't need to worry about those right now. Tip number 7. Determine before the draft if you want to have a game plan. Some people like having a game plan, but making a game plan can be bad sometimes because you could get sniped. What that means is, personally, I don't like having a game plan is solely because if you get sniped and you have a game plan, you have to make your game plan over again. So, to not use enough time, I just don't have a game plan. But some people really thrive on a game plan. Be like, okay, these are the mons I want, and before the draft or during the draft, these are the mons I'm gonna get. So yeah, that's the best way to explain it. And tip number 8, have fun. Yeah, everybody's here for a reason, to have fun. So yeah, just enjoy your experience here. I can guarantee you that if you put the time and you really like your team, you're gonna have a ton of fun. In my opinion, draft is one of the funnest formats to play, and I'm hoping you really enjoy your experience in whatever draft you play. So, these are some archetypes. So, first of all, you have Hyper Offense, and this is Cuba Costa Rican's team from PPL. That's the first team. Basically, what you see is there's gonna be a common trend with all of these. Most of the time, you're not gonna see like a full Hyper Offense team, but you're not gonna see like most of the pieces are gonna be like a little bit, but it's not gonna be committed to like a full Hyper Offense mode, and you'll see that here. Yep. So what you see is the Screen Setter or Grimmsnarl, and then you see like some very, very good setup options with Thunderous Fairy that can set up Nasty Pot, and Melwater can set up Nasty Pot as well. Suine Zora can set up Nasty Pot. Cleaver could set up Swords Dance. Logan so he could set up Victory Dance. Iron Moth could use Boost Energy or Fiery Dance. You also have some like very good like breakers, which a lot of these monsters will be breakers. Logan Hisui, Iron Moth, Cleaver, Zora Hisui, Thunderous Fairy, Melwetta, and then Volcania. Obviously you have some like defensive threats, Volcania, Sandaconda, Bronzong, but most of this team is just very, very offensive. The bottom team below is my team from the TGR singles. And basically, the way I played it, I didn't play this as a hyper offense team, but this could be considered a hyper offense team. This consists of Terrorback Excalibur, Pyroar, Swallow, Golden Go, Quagsire, Galarian Zapdos, Rotom-Mow, Hatterene, Spiritomb, Carkle. As I say that, is we can see the sweepers with Excalibur, Golden Go, Rotom-Mow, Hatterene, Spiritomb to an extent. You have some screen support with Golden Go, Rotom-Mow, Hatterene. You have some good Scarf Mons like Galarian Zapdos. You have good hazards like Quagsire. And by the way, Q's team had hazards of Cleavor and Sandaconda. But yeah, these two teams are kind of considered a hyper offense team. I think my team at bottom less, but I couldn't find any better examples. Bulky offense. This is your pretty standard teams. Like most of the times. I'm not gonna go like deep into these, but you have some good offensive tools. You have some good defensive tools. You have some speedy threats. You have some slow threats. These teams are pretty balanced. This is kind of considered like a balanced team for both of these, so I'm not gonna go straight into these. Stall. So team on the right is not really considered a stall team, but the reason I put this here is because it has some stall pieces. You see the Clodsire. You see the Moltres. You see the Slowbro. Like usually in Soul teams, as you see like left, you see like Corviknight, you see not Walking Wake, you see Toxapex, you see Garganacl, you see Dondozo, Wigglytuff, Dunsparce, Clodsire, Hippowdon, Chestnut. The one on the left is your standard stall team, but right one is you have some stall pieces, but it's not like a fully committed stall team. And I think this is from right one is from Warrior Mask from the PAC pack. The left one is from like Indianapolis Pokemons. I forgot what the exact name is, but you give a gist. Weather. So again, common trend. When you see a Weather team, it's pretty much not going to fully be committed to Weather, but you have some solid Weather pieces. But one on the left is from Danny Mac in the SPL Shuckle Premier League. You see Walking Wake, Sandy Shock, Charizard, Ninetales, Victory Bell. Those are some really good Weather pieces. Because Walking Wake has Photosynthesis, which benefits from the sun. Sandy Shock has Photosynthesis. Charizard has Solar Power. And Victory Bell has Chlorophyll, which are all abilities that kind of benefit from the sun. But on the right, this one is not really a Weather team, but it kind of still gets a point across. So yeah, you see the Politoed Basculegion as like the main Weather pieces. But the reason I like the rain mode on this team is because you have some mons that really benefit from the rain. For example, Rillaboom gets weakened from the fire type hits from the rain. Zapdos gets stuff like Weather Ball, Thunder, Hurricane, or just really benefits from rain. And then when you need like some like rain, you want a really sturdy steel type like Iron Treads. And I think this is always. But these two examples are very solid examples of like a standard Weather team. Most of the time when you get Weather, it's not like a fully committed Weather team, but you have some really solid Weather pieces. Of course, you can make a very full Weather team, you can make a very full stall team, very full bulky offense team, very full hyper offense team, but a lot of people just do some bulky offense modes, some Weather, some hyper offense, but not like fully commit. So that's kind of like a thing you can do, but if you want to fully commit, do it. Have fun. Next, terrain. So you see Wardion S teams again, and then you see MV's team from SPL. So, the one on the left is very less obvious, but this is kind of like the team you'll probably commonly see. And you see Galarian Weezing and Sneasler. Basically what this is Galarian Weezing. You set up the Misty terrain, and then Sneasler gets boosted by Unburden. Terrain is like a very lesser. You don't see terrain as much, but it's still there. It's still very fun. It still is a very good pairing. So yeah, you see Galarian Weezing, Sneasler. You're not gonna commit multiple pieces to your team. You're just probably gonna commit 2, 3, 4, possibly 5, but probably max most of the time you're gonna see 3 max. The one on the right is a more centralized electric terrain team. A more dominated terrain team. So basically you see Iron Valiant, you see Iron Waves, Iron Jugulius, which all benefit from the Pincurchin's electric terrain. And yeah, that's the best way I can explain it. So yep, you see 3.1 that could benefit from electric terrain. And yeah, that's pretty much all the examples I have. I'll probably read some more in the comments, just so people can kind of get a general idea. But yeah, let's get into the mock draft. Okay, we are back from a mock draft. Let me actually just clear some things real quickly, because I tried doing this before, but we're just gonna do this. Okay, so basically, while I do this, I'm gonna explain what I'm gonna be planning to do. Is I'm gonna make kind of a example of a draft. This is obviously gonna be not a full draft, but this is only gonna consist of I'm wanting to do 5 teams. So because basically, if we go back to the slides here, we see that there's terrain, there's weather, there's stall, there's bulky offense, and there's hyper offense. We're gonna try to make 5 teams and just kind of represent what each team might have. So yeah, let's get started with this draft. So pretty much, one of the first mons you see that's probably gonna go is a mon called Dragapult. Dragapult is one of the most popular mons here, so this is a mon you're probably gonna see as the first mon that goes. But there's also some really new tools available. So you might see something like Darkrai go first, Landorus, Palafin, Ursula Single, Zamazenta. Any of these mons are very common choices, but you could also be stupid like me and just pick Koopa Unbound because I thought it would be cool. But these are probably your best choices. But if you want to pick something fun, please. It'll just make the experience more fun for you. So yeah, first we have Dragapult over here, and then a mon that you might see next. And by the way, I'm not gonna make these teams super amazing, because most of the time you're not gonna see very amazing teams. And then this person might be okay, I want to pick Darkrai because Darkrai is a very fun and cool mon. So we're gonna pick Darkrai. And then another person might be how is this mon still available? Urshifu Single is super good. So they're gonna pick Urshifu Single. And okay. So this team is oh my goodness, how was Palafin available? Palafin is absolutely amazing. So then they pick Palafin. And then this last team might be oh my goodness, Zamazenta is still there. Zamazenta is very good. And then yeah, and they pick Zamazenta. So for the next, now we have to be okay, what pairs up with Zamazenta? Zamazenta is weak to Fairy, it's weak to Flying, it's weak to all that. So if you get a very good fighting type like Zamazenta, you might want a very good steel type. So, what's a very good steel type that pairs well with this team? From my experience, I'm just gonna say what's his best steel type available. And right now, I'm seeing one steel type that very pops out. How enough best pairing with Zamazenta, but I still think it's pretty good here. And I see Golden Go, because if you could get a very good hazard stacking mode with this team, Golden Go plus Zamazenta could be super, super good. Next, we have Darkrai, and this team really wants to go for hyper offense. So what they're going to do is they're going to prioritize for Ninetales Alola. Oh wait, I think it's the wrong one, right? Oh my goodness. Aye. Nope, this team. So then this team is like, okay. Palafin is super, super cool here. What could pair very well with Palafin here? They're like, okay. Palafin could be very good on balance. So, you want to give a very good Water, Fire, Grass Core. Okay. What Manga pairs very well with Palafin is actually Meowscarada. Meowscarada is it sets its hazards, it's a very good pivot, and it's just a very... Actually, no. Let's go for Iron Treads. No, Meowscarada. This is a good example. Yep, this team wants to go for Meowscarada. And then this person might be like, okay, let's do something very different here. And then they're like, okay, a very good combo for this team is Sulking Galar. Sulking Galar is a very, very bulky mon that pairs very well to a single strike. So, okay, Sulking Galar is super, super good here. And this team wants Ninetales Alola because it wants to make a very hyper offensive team. And this team is like, okay, what pairs very well with Dragapult here? A mon that pairs very, very well with Dragapult is actually Sneasler. Sneasler is a very good mon that pairs with Dragapult because Dragapult is weak to a fairy, to Ghost, to Dark, which every single one moves, Sneasler helps deal with. So yeah, this team is like, okay, Sneasler is super good here. And then this team could go multiple ways to help Sneasler, to support it. They could go a very bulky terrain team. I could see something like Misty Terrain. Weezing Galar being super good on this team to help with like Dragon Dance Dragapult sets. But one of the most common terrain mons you'll see is actually Rillaboom. Rillaboom is always a really good mon. It's really, really solid. And just super, super solid overall. So you see Darkrai, Ninetales Alola. And then I think this team wants to get some kind of good support for it. And once I get like this team, Darkrai is weak to most fairy type hits. It's weak to bug. So I think right now getting like a very good offensive steal to help with those hits could be super, super good. And what is a very good offensive steal? You might have to go like lower tiers, searching, scouring. Actually, this team might be like, okay, this mon is very good for this team because it has a very nice dimension, and that is Zorakasui. Because basically it can kind of buff some things, and it's just a very, very good offensive mon. This team might want to focus on some more physical attackers, but I think this is a very good start. Next, you want Tornadus Fairy for this team because it offers a very good regenerated core for this team. And then Palafin, Meowscarada, then I think you want to get a very decent fire type for this team. And what I would get is I would get a special attacker. You can get a couple things here. And this is kind of like BGC inspired a little bit. I was gonna get Chiyu, but I don't think that's exactly the best option. Mon I see that's very good on this team is actually Heatran. Heatran is always a really good option, and I think especially in this team, it makes a very solid Water, Fire, Grass core. So, right now, to kind of like do stuff, this is looking to be more of like a very defensive team. This is looking to be like a very offensive team. This is looking to be like kind of like a terrain team. And then this team has like Zamazenta and Golden Go. It's like, something looks very interesting here. Walking Wake is still here. Walking Wake very benefits from the sun. It could also benefit from the rain. Which, looking at this, you could either go for like a Torkoal, you could go for like a Politoed, you could go for a couple stuff. What looks better on this team? I think the Golden Go. I think I like Politoed on this team, but I don't think they would pick Politoed yet. Because you want a very good steel type. You have that good steel, you have that good water. What really could really benefit from this team? I think something that could really be good on this team is actually Zapdos. Zapdos kind of like helps building this like very solid rain mode. So, yeah, let's go with Zapdos for now. I think it's very good, but I think this team probably wants to focus like getting some like lower tier mons. Okay, so you see Palpin, Heatran, and Yaskarada. So Heatran really would benefit from a Dragon type partner. And I think a good Dragon type that could be very, very solid for this team to kind of help forge those speed tiers. Ooh, that was the thing I forgot to mention. Speed tiers are your tiers on speed that like are very, very. So best way I can explain speed tiers is Palpin's speed tier is 100. Yaskarada's is base 121. Heatran's is base 77. So basically, you don't want too many gaps in your speed tiers, because then certain mons, like let's say, something like Rillaboom. So because Heatran is so close to Rillaboom, Rillaboom was forced to run Jolly. But let's say that like you had something like very so like Ursaluna, and then you had nothing else to cover those speeds. Then Rillaboom could run Adamant. So you want to force those Jolly natures or your speed boosting natures. So that's why speed tiers are important. But going on this, so this team really wants a solid Dragon type, and there's some very good solid Dragon types here actually. Looking at this team, what's a Dragon type that could work very, very well on this team? I think a Dragon type that could be super good. You can have a balance point is actually Komao. Super solid mon. And this team wants to add to its defensive pieces. So it can do a couple things here. Has a good regenerator core. And once it has some very, very good defensive pieces though. So we're like, okay. What's a very good mon I could get right now? We're like, okay, Clefable. Super solid mon here. Let's get Clefable. Clefable covers Tornado, Slow, King Galar, versus for Single Strike very well. So we're just gonna head for that. And in this team, it's like, cool, I need some physical attackers. Physical attackers are very, very vital for this team. Okay. I want a very offensive mon that's a physical attacker. What am I seeing here? Something that can be very fun on this team is Arcanine Hisui plus Screams. So, this team goes for that. So you see Sneasler, Dragapult, Rillaboom. So I think Rillaboom would really want a good, solid water type partner. A mon that's pretty popular at this point, because this early generation is actually in plan, which I actually think works very, very well on this team. It's like, okay, I'm running out of points. I really need to focus on getting some cheaper options. So then they go, and they notice, oh my goodness, Delphox is super cheap. We're gonna get Delphox. Because it could be a very good captain candidate. So, they go for Delphox. Like, okay, Arcanine Hisui, I want a very good lead to help with the team. So this team is like, okay, we're gonna go for Gamora. Gamora is a really good hazard lead and can really help a hyper offense team. So that's the kind of reasoning under Gamora. And this team is like, okay, I want some very good defense here. I want another physical attacker. I want some unaware mons. And then you can kind of see like where we're heading. But a water type mon I think works very, very well with this team is actually You can do a couple things here. But that's a really overpriced mon, so I'm not exactly sure if I would get it. Okay. A mon that I think could actually work very well on this team is Ogre Pawn Wellspring. Because this has some very good defensive options, and it could just be very annoying. And then I think if it fixes to Como, and then this team really benefits from a fairy type. And then they want to save some points. I'm gonna make sure this mon is cheap. Yep, this mon is pretty cheap. And that mon is actually Forgus. I think Forgus fits very well because it gets a nice push passer and some nice support. Next, this team wants its range setter, and it wants to prioritize it because if it doesn't, somebody might steal that range setter. For example, this team could actually use rain. This team could use rain. And yeah, those teams could use rain. So, yep, so basically, this team is gonna get Polytoad. And then, because they got Polytoad, what do they want with this? They probably want some like cheaper options. I think something that could fit very well with this team that also gives that water, it also gives that grass type, it gives a... Yep, it gives that grass type, but it also gives that fire type, because sometimes you don't want to run rain. So, I want to see where there's a material is. Unless it's banned. It doesn't look banned. I'm looking exactly where it is. Let's do this. Ogre... Well, let's see what's there. Yep, 13 points. So this mon is... Okay, we're like, okay. Let's go for Ogre Pawn Heartflame. Because this mon looks very, very fun and very, very cool. So maybe go for Ogre Pawn Heartflame. So, then this team, you see very good mons. I think this team would really benefit from a Fast Electric. Fast Electric looks super good on this team. And I think they want to start accumulating Terra Captains. So, we're going to go here. They could do a couple things here. I think Kiwacho's a pretty good Terra Captain on this team. Have some speed tiers. But Mom that's actually really cheap here. And I don't see a reason why this team does not get it. Is Jolteon. Jolteon is super cool. So this team is going to pick up Jolteon. And this Mon, of course, wants some more defensive pieces. Right, okay. What could be very good here? And then because this team wants to have fun, then I can get up later. I don't need to throw it too early. They probably want a bulky steal here. Okay. This team is like, okay. I'm actually gonna look up here. Because Put 1 Showdown is a very good resource to use if you want to do some research. Okay. Okay, this team would actually really benefit from Guju Hisui, because that's a very bulky steel type that actually really benefits this team. And for the rest of this draft, this team is probably gonna... Oh, it's not Hisui's wrong. Gudra Hisui. So this team is probably gonna focus on getting some cheaper options, but it's still good. And this team, it's like, okay, we want some very good physical wall breakers. And they're like, okay, we are gonna get Zapdos Goard. And then this team might be like in my free agency. Okay, I don't like Gomora. Gomora's a cool mon. But then they obviously can't do this like mid-draft, but you can do this after. Then we go for Azelf. Like, okay, cool. I already have 2 rock types. I don't want Gomora and Archon and Hisui. They're both 4 times weak to rock. 4 times weak to ground. So then we go for something like this. Next, you see this. This team can really benefit from a nice fairy type. And what's a mon I really like in this team? Gardevoir could be decent. Not amazing though. Mon I think this team could use is actually Dachsbun. Dachsbun looks... It's a very Oh, no, we don't want to rename it to Dashbun. We're just gonna name this to A, because why not? So then we're, okay, we are gonna get Dashbun. Dashbun is a very cheap one. I mean, could go for something else. You know what? I think something like Sylveon. It was very good on this team. Sylveon looks pretty solid. Okay. This team could really use a... Oh wait, you have to pick another thing, I'm pretty sure. Yep. So, they have a dragon, they have a steel, they have a fairy. And now these wants to get some like lower tier mons. So we're gonna look at lower tiers now. Like, okay, what does this team need? It does not have any hazard removal. So, the hazard removal. What's some very cheap hazard removal? That's also really, really good. Team needs an electric type. That's not the grass type. This is where it gets a little bit harder. But this team could actually really benefit from Donphan. Donphan is one of the best removers, so that's a good mon you always get. And then this team, it's like, okay, we want a good water type. Good offensive water type. What's a good offensive water type? We're like, okay, this mon is a steel, but it's still here. And then you're like, okay, let's try something different. And then they get more things to help support their offensive uses, which is Samurai Hisui, because Samurai Hisui can set up spikes. So they're gonna get Samurai Hisui. I'm pretty sure that's how you say that. Might be 2 M's. Nope, we got it correctly. Yep, so they get Samurai Hisui. This team is like, okay, we're running out of points. We want some more defensive options. We have a dragon, we have a steel, we have a fairy, we have a water. We want a good fire type. So what's a good fire type? And okay, let's get Skeleturge. Skeleturge is a very good fire type here that pairs pretty decently with this team. And this team is like, okay, cool. What exactly do I want? They can really use a ground type here. So I'm like, okay, we want to save some points. That's a very decent ground type, guys. Also pretty cheap. Sand Slash. This team is like, okay, cool. We need a ground type, and I don't always want Battlefield to be my my defensive water, so we're gonna go for Gastrodon. Gastrodon gives a cool dimension to this team, so I think Ogerpon. Okay. Did I spell Ogerpon correctly? I don't think I did. Ogerpon. It's Heartflame. It's not Heartflame, it's Heartflame. That's so weird. So I get Ogerpon Heartflame. This team is like, okay, cool. Something that rain teams really like is rain support. So you go over here, like, okay, what gets Swift Swim? And you're like, okay, cool. I think I already see system user can be super good on this team. You're like, okay. Overqwell looks very good on this team. So I'm like, okay, cool, let's get Overqwell. Overqwell. And then we're like, okay. This is ending a very good team. Some people don't like ground types on their rain team. They probably want some like more cheaper options. You're like, okay, what's it? Cheap. What's some user? How much is Golduck? Golduck is 4 points, which is decently cheap. How much is Ludicolo? Ludicolo is 7 points, which is also pretty decently cheap. That's doable. And okay, they have 19 points left, so they really wanna save their points. They have a dragon, they have a steel. Ooh, they actually don't have a fairy. And then maybe earlier. Actually, no, it didn't get taken. Maybe they wanted 7-point Dosh Fund because it's actually pretty cheap and it gives a lot of support for his team. So there you go for the 7-point Dosh Fund. Okay, cool. And okay, so yep, that team is good. And now this team is like, okay, cool. We have the water, we have fire, we have the grass, dragon, fairy, steel, ground, electric, ghost type could be good on this team. And then I actually already know the ghost type. That is actually pretty good on this team. But let's see if there's any better ghost types. Hold on. They can do a couple things. There's a ghost type I was looking at, but there's a ghost type that might be better. And that ghost type I was looking at was actually... I was looking at Frostblast because I think Spike support would be super good on this team. But they gotta help round up with speed tiers just a tiny bit. And I'm gonna make sure this is not taken. We're gonna go over here. Okay, 14 points. You're gonna have to really balance your budget. But Gengar looks really good on this team. But this team is running some like harder physical attackers, but has some good options. And now this team is running very, very low in points. And I want some more defensive options. Has some stealth rounds. Ooh, Spikes could be really good on this team. But I want some very good defensive options. Very good defensive options that are over here. A mon that would actually do decent on this team is this one, but we're not even gonna touch this one. This mon is never draft this mon. For my sake, never draft this mon. This mon is no, just never draft it. No one should ever draft it for my sake. So this would be a decent mon, but don't draft it. Okay. And I'll pass that point. So I'm looking. Okay. Ooh, this mon actually looks pretty decent on this team. It depends how much it is, though. Otherwise, we do have a substitute. Looking at Garganacl, but considering you're running out of points, I think good mon is not stack. Let me make sure. My brain is pretty fried because it's taking a lot of energy, but Knuckle. Okay. Yep, so we see Knuckle stack, which could also be a Terra Captain. Yep, so you see Knuckle stack over here, which a lot of these teams are kind of going together. You see water, you see fire. Like, okay, cool. Grass type is needed for this team, so you go over here, go for grass type. Oh, we don't want grass ghost. We just want a grass type. Okay. It's Montera. I'm gonna look this right now. Could you Terra? Or Terra. Ooh. Wait, this match was super good. I was looking at... Okay, that's cool. I was looking at a different grass type. But I think this grass type is even better for this team. It gives a lot more setup for this team. Yep, so this team is actually going to go for Portera. It gives a good grass. It gives a good grass type. Gives a good ground type. Obviously, Portera does not have the best defensive typing, but a good Terra. Funny. A good Terra. And then this team is really not going to focus on defensive stuff. So yeah. Now you see this team. Electric type is going to be very essential in this team. I already have electric type in mind, but you might... Of course, you could use Showdown, like you could just go here, electric type. Boom. I might sound like Sandy Shocks, but no. Dynamite Jargon on this team, that actually fits pretty decent though, is Kilowattrel. Because it also has a Terra option, and this team needs Terramons. Kilowattrel. Yep, so all these teams are ending up pretty decent, and this team has some very decent options here. And then that's 9 points. So you have a 9 with 6, in total 18 points. So 9 plus 6, that's 15. So you probably want a 3-pointer. And you probably want the best 3-pointer available to Terra. And right now, and what is the best thing available? Okay, Meko could be super cool. I don't think it's necessary. This team would really like additional passive support. So I think this team would really benefit from Komala. Komala is a very cool mon. So this team is like, okay, cool, let's get Komala. And now, so this team is running very, very low in points, but they don't care. They want to run a very, very high progress team. Sorry, okay, what's the best health point available? Best one that fits the team. They could go a couple ways. They could go Willow and Hisui, but you really don't need to. They could go with Spafra. Spafra works decent. They could go Okidogi. But there's one that really catches my eye here. And that is a type that they still need, which is Dragon. They don't have a Steel type, but I guess that's fine. But yeah, Hattress. Do they want that? Because they probably want a really good 8-pointer. Right now we have Torterra. Okay, I see what So we're like, okay. This mon could be a very good Terra captain because he gets a good psychic typing, so we're gonna go for Braviary Hisui. Yep, so we go for Braviary Hisui. And now this team, with this knack of stack team, we have 13 points left. You want some more defensive options. We have a water, we have a fire, we have a grass. Yep, they have a grass. We have a fairy, we have a dragon, we have a steel. They probably want a very strong ground type. Could they afford some mods? What mods could they afford that fits very, very well on this team? How much is... Okay. This team is like, okay, let's add to some defensive pieces. So, I want to get Hippowdon, which fits very, very well in this team. Gets to add some more faster support, some more chip. Yeah, so they go for that. So now, they have a water, they have a fire, they have a grass, they have a dragon, they have a fairy, they have a steel. What else do they need? A normal type would be pretty decent on this team. So, right, okay. Let's get a normal type. They go over here. Okay. This team could use some passive support. How much is the Dunsparce? 1 point. I can't Terra. We want some Terra captains here. Actually, there's 7, they have 9. So, 7 plus 9. That's 16. Okay, I see the vision. So, yep, this team is like, okay. Do they want that? Hold on. I see what this team wants. You're like, okay, let's get Cleavor. Cleavor gives a very good, solid offensive attacker that this team really needed. Speed tiers are kind of struggling, but this is not like a very formal one. Obviously, if this is an action draft, I would probably like even up the speed tiers a tiny bit more, but they aren't exactly absolutely terrible. So, yeah. This team goes for Cleavor, and then they could use the rest for like a 2-pointer, and then they're done. This team, not quite done, but okay, cool. So this team, I kind of want some more range support because this team could actually kind of use it. Then you go back here. Go here. Then you can go for here. Go for Swift Swim. You probably want a cheaper one. If you could afford it, could you actually afford Dreadnought? 8-point Dreadnought. And could you make it one of your Terra Captains? Hold on. I like it. Okay, I like it. So then, what I would probably do is you probably wouldn't want to do this. I probably would not recommend doing it, but I guess it's fine. And you get 18. So then you get a 2-point mod to help with your Terra Captain situation. We're not picking Carbink because Carbink is ass. By the way, we should not give this because it gets superpower, but... what could actually be good? Ooh, that's a quite steal. Hold on. Sometimes you want to pick a mon, not because it's exactly the best mon ever. Ooh, that's also a really good mon here. There's a lot of cool mons. Vivian, oh my goodness, 2 points is crazy. Do you know what? I think Vivian is pretty solid on this team. And then, yeah, you have 2 points for another mon. Okay, cool. So then this team, it wants a 2-point mon. And then this team is like, okay, what do we want to do for 2 points? And there's some really cool options here. I think one thing that this team can really benefit from is 2-point Bombardier. And then we're just gonna kind of declare what this team's Terra Captains would be. Because you have 7, then you have 9, that's 16, Bombardier's 2, so you make this a Terra Captain. And kind of thinking ahead, actually, I'm not exactly sure what Terra Captains would be for that team, but... And then... Ooh, okay. So this team finds its issue that, like, all of its mons are above that threshold that it wants to be. So, what it does is it actually creates... What does it want to trade in Grace? It wants to trade something in Grace. Okay, that's perfect. That's perfect. Okay. So what it does is it trades in Grace Period to make this a better team. It trades Oldripon Wellspring for Toxapex. Because it realizes that this goes to 12, it goes to 2. You have 4 points left. So, you have Toxapex, and you probably want a good grass type. I'll get a grass type here. What's a good grass type here that we put on this team? Here, go here. Okay, I like this. And then, right here, you get Appleton. I think Appleton is a super good mon here. For this team, at least. And then you have 4 points left. And then you could just get like a very nice front here. Might be a spike stacker. You can do a couple things here. What's the best mon available here? What's really good here? He's really good here. Okay, mon I actually like here. Do I like it? No, not really. Okay. Metacham looks decent here instead of like bulk ups. Balance is what else to be good here? Samurott? Hold on. No, you have pursuing Samurott. This is where it gets tricky. Toxicroak will be decent. Okay, best mon I see here is Metacham. No. Could probably pick something else. I think Mug looks pretty decent on this team. Not the best mon, but then what you'd actually do is your Terra Captains would be this, and it would be this. and going here. Like, okay, cool. Like, oh my goodness, we have 16 points left? Oh. And they have their Terra Captains, they have 6. They have 14. No, they have 15, 18. Okay, we could just splurge here. And then go all the way to a 16-point tier. Okay, what do we want here? Because they could splurge a lot here. Like, there's some really good mons, there's some really solid ones too. And we go fairy. Ooh, we could do a couple things here. Let's go for 15-point here. I really don't need anything. See a mon here that's really good. You could also go. Don't need a poison type. Giant Feral Steel Core, you have your electric. Okay, a mon that actually looks really cool here. Not because it's probably not the most viable thing, but it's a fun mon for sure. Would be Ursaluna Blood Moon. Probably not the most optimal thing ever, but it'll be good. And then your Terror Caps, it would be T over here, T over here, T over here. Oh, this team cannot actually afford Muck. Okay, what's a good 3-point mon that we could do? What's a very good mon here? Ooh, I know something. So on a hyper offense team, you might want more hazard support. So you would like Ariados on this team. Ariados gives some very good hazard support, and I would probably say this is a pretty good, solid hyper offense team. I'll probably say this is a pretty solid terrain team because, yeah, maybe like trade Donphan for something because obviously grass terrain weakens the power of Earthquake, but I think Donphan is pretty good. And this team has some good defog support. Has 9 kills a lot. Most of the time you just want to hit hard. You don't really want to focus on defense, which this team does pretty well. Now this team. So, well, you could do a couple things here, but a lot of the times people don't like using that 1 point because you're not going to get much. So now we're just going to do this. We're going to go here, 3, and then yep, that's good. So that's what the team wants to do with that. This is actually -6 points. Oh my goodness, that did not update. We're like, okay, we're gonna pass him in. We'll probably make some transactions later, but this is a pretty decent amount of that team. And 2 points left. I think I go for Electrode. Electrode is a very good monomer, so they go for that. Yep. So then you do this. For this. And go back. Okay, so that's a mock draft. This is a probably terrain team. This is hyper offense team. This is a not exactly the most optimal song team, but this has some really good solid pieces. I would probably consider this a down team. And this would be a rain team or a weather team. So yeah, hopefully you like this. I had a lot of fun doing this, and yeah, that's all. Bye bye.